Hello.
I wasn't centered. Damn it.
Pretty
Hi,
sure I
everybody.
didn't mute myself and I did the
No, I heard it loud as shit. So it's
Oh
like
fuck.
you might
Damn
have
it.
heard me go and drop my straw, my metal straw in my cup. Taking a little quick wet in the whistle before we got started. Oh well.
Live show, folks.
Live show. How the hell are you, everybody? Welcome to the latest, greatest, and last episode, at least of this season, season 6 of the Battle Bros podcast. We are the Battle Bros. My name is Mac. This is Alamo. Welcome. How are you? Greetings and salutations. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that we're at the end of another season of doing this show.
Indeed.
We are, July 4th will be 5 years that this whole adventure started. So it's like, where the hell is the time gone? It's like crazy,
Damn, it's been 5 years.
Almost, dude.
Oh.
If you're new to the show, hey, hopefully you like what you see or hear. We're two friends that have been
Andor. Cassian Andor.
That's not what I was going for. I didn't catch the reference. So
you didn't catch that reference, yeah. Star Wars.
I know what it is. I just wasn't doing it. I was making no reference whatever. I was trying to focus on the show because I'm already distracted. I'm not trying to be fucking retarded, kid. Jesus. I told you I was going to do it. I told you I was going to do that stupid Boston accent for Pete Holmes. So before we got started, sidebar. Before we got started, we're watching this clip. Pete Holmes is a comedian, and he's doing this bit about how all like fantasy movies they're in a British accent, and it makes it so much more believable. Like, oh, there's a goblin over there. We need to go to the apothecary. And it's like, is this a real documentary about stuff? It's like you couldn't do that with a guy with a Bostonian accent. And I'm not hating on anybody from Boston, but it's just the bit was hilarious. He's like, there's a fucking goblin over there. Oh my god. There's 2 wizards and a goblin that's stealing fucking unicorns. Shit's fucking retarded, kid. Oh my god. It's a hilarious bit. I watched it 5 times in a row and just laughed myself stupid.
It's awesome
2 minutes.
When you find like those clips where you're just like you just come across them and it's like the perfect thing in your feed and you're just like and then
you watch it again
and then you restart
and it's funnier and you watch it again
it's like,
and it's funnier and you watch it again and it's still funnier and it just keeps getting funnier and you realize you're sitting here punching a hole in the table, stomping your foot on the ground, just like pissing on yourself because it's fucking hilarious. It's fucking wild. It's great. So that's what we did before we started. So but again, if you're new to the show, we were going to have some random thoughts of randomness like that all the time. So
of course
you have been duly warned. Hold on to your butts, buckle up. We are 2 friends that have been friends since high school, which was longer than either one of us cares to admit. We were both in high school when 9/11 happened, and that altered the course of our lives, obviously. Whereas Alamo went active duty, I was National Guard, both in the Army, both infantry soldiers. He went to Iraq. I ended up doing a tour in Afghanistan. So we kind of have the full gamut of experiences when it comes to the military and all that kind of stuff. So, this is a podcast where we talk about things that are important, but also afflict the military and veteran communities. But this can also be applicable to law enforcement, first responders, fire, EMS type personnel. Hey, and if you are just some random person listening to our show, if it applies to you, cool. You might learn something. You might hear something that you would have never heard otherwise. And all right, let's rock and roll with it. So, but we're gonna get into a little bit more about how this all got started at the end of the show, like we always do. But first, we're gonna talk about some hard hitting stuff. And so here we go. If you caught our show last week was episode 131, and we were talking about the subject of morale and how that was important. It was a good conversation, like they always are. But feel free to go back and watch. You can go on our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel. Just search the Battle Bros podcast on YouTube. and it has every single one of our episodes up there. You can find us on other sources of media consumption as well, such as Spotify and other places. Again, we'll talk about that at the end of the show. I don't want to steal too much of my man's thunder over here because that's kind of his thing, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Don't have any news stories this week because there wasn't really anything that was kind of like, oh, that would be cool to talk about. So we're just going to skip that part.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get right into it. So I know it's kind of we're flying by the seat of our pants here, but just kind of hold on. We're gonna go somewhere with this. So, this, as I mentioned, is our last episode of season 6. This is episode 132. We do 22 episodes because that's an important number to us, and we'll talk about that later as well. But this is episode 132. And we're going to be talking about the subject of hypervigilance. Okay. Now, the reason this whole thing came up is about a month ago, I saw a clip from the guys that do the Unsub podcast. We're talking about Fat Electrician. We're talking about Donut Operator, Brandon Herrera, Eli Cuevas, and a few other folks that are kind of have a menagerie of folks that kind of rotate in and out of that. And they were talking about how, like, guys, like, when they're, when they go to war, hypervigilance kind of becomes a thing sometimes, and your brain kind of gets rewired and it just stays that way. So it was like, that would be a good topic to talk about. So we kind of waited. We wanted to do something really, good, and, not that they're not all meaningful, but we want to do something extra special for the first and last shows of our season, just to make them, really memorable and stick out and stuff. So we want to talk about hypervigilance and what that is, and kind of, some signs to look for it. This is going to be one of those shows where we kind of have a little bit more of an organic conversation, just because there's not too many articles out there other than like basic stuff. And then there's also a lot of case studies. So it's like,
but then there's also basic dude stuff.
Basic dude stuff. Shout out to Pat Mack. You the man. Love you, buddy. Good old Sergeant Major McNamara.
Yes, sir.
If you don't know who Pat Mack is, get off your ass. Like, Pat Mack is awesome. He's one of those dudes. He is so many things that just cannot be put into a descriptive box. Like, that guy is into so many things. Like, at 61, that dude is shredded more shredded at 61 or 62 than I have ever been in my entire life. And it's like,
which is crazy.
Oh, it's sad on my part, but I mean, shout out to that guy. So, but he's a shooting instructor. He's
the only one, dude. I got to get there.
That's my goal for this summer, is just to get in a little bit better shape. So I'm going to need some help with that. So we'll talk about that off air. But anyway, so this is not basic dude stuff, but this is cool stuff and interesting stuff as it relates to our community and our sect of society. So hypervigilance. You may know what this is. You may not know what it is. So a lot of times hypervigilance is, guys that just seem like they're always on edge. They're always, kind of alert, overly alert to the point of being, I don't want to say the word paranoid, but just kind of like they're always checking their surroundings all times, all that kind of thing. So before we get further into this, let's take a quick step back. And I'm just going to talk about a couple other definitions real quick. So if we're going to be talking about hypervigilance, well, Mac, what is vigilance? Well, hell, I'm glad you asked, folks out there in consumer land. Let's talk about vigilance first before we talk about hypervigilance. So vigilance is the state of being keenly alert, watchful, and attentive, typically to detect danger, avoid harm, or ensure safety. On the flip side of that, hypervigilance is a state of heightened, persistent alertness and scanning for potential threats, often stemming from trauma, PTSD, anxiety disorders, or chronic stress. It is also a symptom of both PTSD and unresolved trauma. Okay. So you can normally see a little bit of some of the signs when we talk about hypervigilance. This is going to be so. Okay, let me also back up another again. So, one of the things we're also going to talk about tonight is hypervigilance versus situationally aware. Okay, now there's going to be some similarities there, but there's also going to be some very stark contrasting differences between the two. So we are going to talk about that as well. So might as well go ahead and cover situationally aware. So what is the difference between hypervigilant and situationally aware? Okay, so with being situationally aware, all right, you're not having an emotional reaction. You're not having any what ifs, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So we'll kind of circle back around to this, and you feel somewhat safe. Um, People who identify as situationally aware can enter any environment without fear, within reason. Okay. Again, we're going to come back to this. So when you're hypervigilant, you're going to be defensive. You're going to be on guard. Okay. And this is all going to be reflected by non-verbal communication. So there's going to be some things you can look for, okay, that are going to kind of be a tell or a sign that someone might be exhibiting hypervigilance. Okay, so we're going to talk about these. So the first part of these is going to be some things that you see that have to do with the physical body itself. Okay, so starting at the top, working our way down. Okay, if you see someone's head, their head is going to be most times scanning left to right with their chin up, kind of level to the ground, and they might be grimacing a little bit, like kind of making like a neutral face, not really happy, not really sad, but just kind of neutral, but looking somewhat maybe
Done that before,
intimidating,
and
aggressive.
I can show an example. You're standing there, and you're up. You're simple as that.
So
I know
you're
because
you're
I've caught
scanning around
myself
pretty
doing that.
frequently and often.
Yeah, yeah. I've done that myself. I know I've
Right.
been there.
Now, listen, there's nothing wrong with being situationally aware. As somebody who is, again, just to quote Pat McNamara, you are the head of your own security detail kind of thing, as what he's one of the common things that he said on the internet. There is a lot to be said for being situationally aware. When I worked for a self-defense training company up in Brooksville, it's one of the things that we taught, LERF, which is left, right, rear, front. So you're just kind of casually looking around, left, right, rear, front, before you get into your car or something. A lot of folks just head to the door of their car, they look there, and they get in. They're not really focusing anywhere else. Okay, maybe take your non-dominant hand and just kind of open the door that way. So you're looking behind you in case somebody tries to come up from behind you, depending on the type of day. If it's late at night, you're alone in your parking garage or alone in a parking lot, might not be the best lit area. It might be a little bit sketch, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
There's a lot to be said for being situationally aware. You could get into the whole argument or the whole, aspect of the conversation for like the Second Amendment community, where that's going to be very, very pertinent to your lifestyle as someone who exercises their constitutional right of concealed carry or open carry or self-defense, whatever the case may be. Being situationally aware could help to keep you alive or safe or whatever. So there's a lot to be said for that. Okay. But hypervigilance is going to take one step further from being situationally aware. And it's going to have some signs, again, that are a little bit problematic. So as we talked about a second ago, we were talking about the head scanning left to right, chin up, grimacing. Okay. Your eyes are going to be wide open. It's kind of like your brain turned into a supercomputer. You're trying to take in as much information as possible. All right. Your jaw is going to be clenched. You're going to be gritting your teeth, sometimes to the point where like you feel your jaw just start to burn because it's so much tension right there in your jaw itself. Okay. Nostrils are going to be flared, really kind of taking a lot of air, oxygen to, oxygenate the blood and all that kind of stuff. That's definitely part of it. Your shoulders are I'm sorry, I skipped one here. Your neck muscles are going to be flexed, okay? In kind of a way, it's kind of like, what's that term? Like when you're trying to impress somebody, peacocking, like when you're trying to make yourself look bigger, more
Yep.
attractive to a male, to a female, to a mate, a potential mate, and whatnot.
Yep. Yep.
This
Yep.
is kind of the same thing, but for a much different purpose. You're trying to make
Yeah.
yourself look bigger, so that way you are more of an intimidation. You're more intimidating. You're more aggressive
Also,
looking.
I've done this, by the way.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think it's very commonplace for something like that, especially like when I first came home. Like you think about like and again, I always have to caveat it with like like when I went overseas, like oh god, excuse me. When I went overseas, I mean, I didn't really like I had like literally maybe like I had one engagement for sure that I was able to actually shoot back, and a couple where our vehicles got shot at. You know what I mean? Um, but it's like it was nothing that really I can say like I was like, oh my god, like I was fighting for my life and I saved like five. Like no, I never got around to doing any of that stuff. You know, I'm not a Silver Star winner or Medal of Honor winner. Not that those are bad things, but it just I never got a chance to do any of those things. So, but I still, when I came home, there was just something about not being around the guys. I think
Yeah.
like you're like for me, it was I'm not with my people and I don't have any backup, so I'm kind of
Yeah.
on my own. You know what I mean?
I made the mistake of going to. This was once I had returned home from the deployment altogether. Because we left in July. We left July 4th to fly over, and then left country July 4th to come back. And the next year, it was it would have been after your senior year, like the year right after your senior year. I went back to a football game at our old high school, and I regretted that because of the loud noises, because of people just being up in my fucking grill, in my bubble space, and like, yeah, I don't think I could have probably stayed home. Like, it was great to go back up there and stuff because
Yeah.
at the time, you know, I was with somebody. She was also in your class as well, and she was with me, but she could see really quick that like I was not in a good place to do that. So,
Yeah.
um,
That was
but
me. That
anyway,
was me. That was me going to Universal Studios for like the first time since I, freaking left. Like me and Tish, we wanted to go to. We ended up getting season passes to Universal back when you getting a season pass actually was affordable.
didn't
And
cost a third mortgage on your house.
yeah, and you could get a fast pass. Like I remember, we got the fast pass. That was the quickest we'd ever gone through those damn lines. Dude, we ended up getting the fast pass for the day. Like we had the season passes, right? But we didn't have the money to like get the season pass or the fast passes for the whole time that we had the season pass. So we ended up, being like, how much extra is the fast pass? It's like, oh, and at the time it was like an extra like $65. We were like,
For the day.
for the day. Yeah, we were like, yeah,
Done.
hell yeah,
Sure.
done. We
Was
got
this
on
before-
all the rides.
Was this before the kids?
This is before the kids.
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
yeah, you do shit like that when you don't have kids. So,
But I remember like I was relatively calm because I was around Tish, but I was always very like hyper aware of like everybody around me, and like I didn't and like I would catch myself as I'm like going through big crowds being like not like I always veered off to the right. Like say like there was a crowd like right in the middle, I would like grab her by the hand because she can't walk. and I would like veer off to the side of the crowds and just kind of like a river, like let the crowds like pass us, and I would just hug the outside of the crowd as we were going to wherever we were going, or whatever side I felt was the best, going the direction to the attractions we were going. Because number one, I'm not having somebody being behind me, and number two, there was just way too many damn people to be that close to me,
Yeah.
and I couldn't handle that shit. And I remember feeling that feeling, but like twice as intense.
Yeah.
And actually, I fucking texted you about it.
I remember
when
that.
when we were in Vegas, for my work, for my job, I was in Vegas, and I freaking all I remember is I'm like in the show itself, it wasn't an issue because in the show, I'm moving around. I'm
You're
going from
distracted. You're not stagnant. You're mobile.
yeah,
You got your coworkers with you because you guys ended up winning that award for like sales team of the year or something.
yes.
By the way, if you guys, man, I wish you could see it. That picture of you guys, the James Bond tuxes were fucking sharp, my guy. Listen, white
Hell
tux
yes.
jacket, black lapels. Oh, yeah, buddy.
I
I'm gonna
had
do
my
that.
little mini freaking CIB with my mini Iraq War campaign medal and my freaking GWAT freaking my freaking GWAT oh my god, why am I having a brain
Pocket
fart?
square. Your
Pocket square. There we go.
GWAT pocket
Um
square.
but yeah, man, I was damn near going into a pant. Like my hands were getting sweaty.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm starting to feel that shit again. And we're talking about, dude, years later.
Yeah.
Years later.
Do you think it was just like the volume of people out there in Vegas? It was just larger than anything you'd ever experienced before, or
I think so, because I mean, and by the way, Vegas is a blast. If you ever want to go, people go. Expensive as hell. Expensive
what
as
is it
hell,
nowadays?
but it's a fucking blast. What do you mean?
Like, what isn't expensive nowadays?
Oh yeah,
staying home isn't expensive.
Jesus, yeah. But yeah, no, it's you. If you guys ever get a chance to go to freaking Vegas, man, you gotta go at least once in your life. Like, I want to go again at some point. So hopefully I get a chance to go again. Yeah.
Dude, I want to take you out to Salt Lake City, man. That was so gorgeous out there, bro.
Hit some trails. Hell
Dude,
yeah,
man. Like it's a different kind of vibe out there, man. Like I was so fortunate to get to go out there, but
peaceful vibe, I would imagine.
it's just different, like people are just chill, dude. It's like they're not really trying to bug you and stuff. They're nice, they're polite. It's like Southern hospitality, but that's what it should have used to be. Let's just say. But
Exactly.
it's just like, yeah, they're just freaking chill as hell, man. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
People aren't take care of themselves, are in good shape, and you have to because you're constantly climbing up and down the sides of mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you might walk down a freaking stairway to go to a parking lot up to a store, and it's like
Yeah. Well, the population density is different too, though, man.
But
like
dude,
you don't have a lot of people from inner cities in
I'm
Los
telling
Angeles
you,
or New York or places like that wanting to move to places like that.
the scenery out there is like, it's just amazing, bro. Like I went in winter.
Break out my camera so I can take pictures.
Oh hell yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Dude, like going out there in the winter time, and then I went out there like a couple of months later.
We've talked about this on the show.
Springtime, we have talked about it many times, but like, dude, I just have to stop and reflect on it because like it's so freaking pretty out there. Like the mountains are just amazing. Driving from where I was up in Park City down to Salt Lake, dude, you go from like 7,700 feet to like 58. Like you drop like 2,000 feet in like a 30-minute drive. Like it's wild. It's like 20, 30 miles from Park City down to Salt Lake, and you drop 2,000 feet in elevation.
That was like driving for us, me and Tish, driving from Scottsdale up into fucking the mountains, going to the Grand Canyon.
Oh
Like
yeah.
we went because you got to remember Scottsdale. That's in a freaking valley. Like, I mean, it's I think if I remember correctly, I think Scottsdale is at sea level. If
Okay.
I remember correct, I almost if I remember I think if I remember correctly, Scottsdale is right at sea level, and then you go up into the mountains as you're like going through Flagstaff and all these other different places in Arizona as you're
Yeah.
going to the Grand Canyon. And my God, man, freaking gorgeous out there.
That's the same thing with Salt Lake, dude. You get down there and it's like in this just giant plateau. Like
Yeah,
there's mountains on three sides of it. Like it's just you fly down into that and then you
I
drive up into the Park City area. It's oh
I,
wow.
I think I think at a certain point we got up to 7,200 feet,
Yep.
and it was gorgeous,
Yeah, man.
especially going through Flagstaff.
Yeah. Well,
Dude,
just the fact that there's elevation change, like, dude, like I remember, like from where I was staying, I would walk down to the community park, and it was like a mile road distance. It was a mile. You drop like maybe a good 100 to 200 feet in elevation, and I was
yeah.
going to the park. You'd go down, and then going back up to the house where I was staying, you have to walk uphill, and it's like, oh, if you're from Florida, you're not built. You're a flatlander. You're not built for that kind of shit, man. I was
Nope.
like,
Yeah,
all right, we need to get back on track. We went on a little bit of a
a little
derailed
bit of
train of
a
thought
little
there.
bit of a tangent, a little bit of a
A
tangent.
little bit of a tangent. So, anyway, like we were talking about earlier with the body. So, again, head scanning left to right, eyes wide open, jaw clenched, maybe gritting teeth, nostrils flared. Your neck muscles are going to be flexed, okay? Your shoulders are going to be back. Your traps are going to be flexed. Your chest is going to possibly be tightened to exaggerate the size of your pectoral muscles. And again, kind of making yourself look bigger and tougher and meaner. Okay, same thing with your abdomen. Your abdomen's going to be tightened. Okay, your walking speed, your gait is going to be slow and methodical in appearance. Okay, now with your hands might be clenched or near your torso in preparation to be utilized or potentially crossed like this, and it's just kind of like a deterrent stuff. You know, this you hear some guys refer to as an interview stance like this that can be very standoffish or confrontational because it's just like when you see somebody with their arms crossed, it kind of puts up that psychological barrier. Like they're not really there to talk; they're there to be kind of confrontational. Whereas if you are, you know, somebody like law enforcement or somebody that's talking to the general public or having contact with, Joe's private Joe's, citizen, whatever, you might have your hands in what they call an interview stance. So that way, if you need to come up, you can block, you can do whatever, defensive blow, strike, go to your sidearm, whatever the case may be. And I'm talking law enforcement, security personnel type stuff, but also with the military. You know, we also are going to be standing there, might just have your hands kind of, you have, like the way I was always taught was like, if you're going to be sitting there talking, you can have your rifle slung across your torso. And it worked out great for me being overseas because being left-handed, I could always have my right hand to be like, salam alaikum or shake hand or whatever, because the left hand is apparently the inferior hand and used to wipe your ass. And of course, according to cultural briefings that I went through 20 plus
Yeah.
years ago. So it was nice because I could always keep my hand right here and just be like, how's it going? Hola, that kind of shit. So, but yeah, same thing. Your hands can be clenched. They can be just kind of up here near your chest. A lot of times I see some guys when they're doing like competitive shooting as well. They'll start off like this, come up, draw stroke, collect two hands together, punch out, all that kind of junk. So kind of the same principle. But again, this is for a slightly different reason. Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
sure.
that's going to be your physical body. That's the nonverbal communication from your body. Let's talk about mindset. Okay. So with mindset, okay, it's going to be a lot of times what can happen if you're kind of someone who's experiencing hypervigilance. The way that this is going to start is that you're going to be informed of an interaction in a perceived dangerous environment, such as going to the mall or other similarly crowded, unpredictable setting. Now, here's the thing I want to emphasize on this point: unpredictable. It is outside of your control. It is outside of your realm of influence. You have no say as to what goes on. It could be 1,001 freaking scenarios of just shit that goes on that you're going to be like, ugh, fuck. Okay. And it
Mhm.
might get to the point where you realize you have to go to this place. It's going to be like you're getting angry, you're getting upset because you don't want to go here. It can cause an issue. It's going to be like, kind of stuff. Okay. To the point you might get upset, start using profanity and cussing and all that kind of junk. Okay. So then after that, you get informed of this, going into this perceived dangerous environment. It's going to be followed by the what ifs. Okay. Now, the what ifs is going to be like, what happens if this goes on? What happens if this goes on? Or a lot of times, what it can be is it might be a potentially, the what ifs could be something as simple as potential triggering event caused by an interaction with someone from a diverse cultural background. Okay. For those of us that might have been over to the Middle East, that might be someone from a country or of a ethnic background that is from that region of the world. Okay. It's not that we're being discriminatory. We're not, it's not that we're being, we're not trying to be racist. I hate to say that word, but it's kind of outside of our control. If you're hyper vigilant,
Yeah.
again, you have to understand this is being caused by something that has some trauma to it. You might have been in a third world country. If you're a young guy in a third world country and you saw some gnarly shit happen to somebody where they didn't go home, or it happened to one of your friends and they got hurt or maimed or as a result of, something that happened over there. So it could be a very easy assumption to think that you might be blaming somebody or just kind of in general for the whole, you know, broad scope of what happened. Okay.
Yeah.
With hypervigilance, you're
No,
not
I'll
exactly
agree with that. I and I will admit it's a certain thing I don't like admitting. I was that guy for a little while. Um and I remember when I started going to like an actual like when I started going to college at like HCC.
Mhm.
um there were certain individuals there, obviously, that of a certain background, and I had my qualms with it. I did my best to ignore them most of the time when unless I actually had to deal with them. um I will say thank God I'm past all that. But it was hard. It was hard for me because, like, if I had to go a certain way, I would go around and some other direction to make sure I didn't have to pass near them or anything like that.
And it's not so much for anything bad. It's just like you're just trying to eliminate the potentiality for some type of interaction where it could potentially go south. And I
Correct.
know I'm at a lot of what ifs stacked on top of each other, like boom, 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 boom. But that's kind of how your brain thinks in that particular circumstance. You're just like,
Yeah.
and we'll kind of touch on that back again in a few minutes when we get to the next few points and stuff. But yeah, it's like I told my mom last weekend. My daughter was with her mother because she did something for her birthday. She turned 12, which is another conversation. But if
Mine's turning 13, dude.
if you know, you know. But she was with her mother for part of the morning on Saturday. So I was like, hey, let's go ahead and go to Walmart, get the stuff we need for the week for groceries. I have a certain amount of things I need to have, to pack my lunch for work and stuff because I'm in a school setting. I can't just leave and go down, and it gets expensive too. Like takeout food gets expensive.
It does.
But we went in the morning time, probably about like 10 o'clock, and it was just a completely different environment because the church crowd hadn't, they're not out. You don't have a shit ton of people in there. And I said, this is when we go from now on. Like, we're going first thing in the morning. It's like, the old folks that want to go and just get it done and out of the way. So they're not trampling over people. I mean, because once that happened, okay, I just heard some weird stuff outside my window. Um, it sounds like either firecrackers or something else. I don't. So anyway,
Kapow.
sorry, I'm not trying to like, had a complete squirrel brain for a minute. But
Once we're done with this video, I'm gonna introduce you to Latinos versus a spooky shit.
but yeah, I mean it's just completely different. You don't have like a 1,000 people in there. And listen, like when you got a screaming kid, you got a screaming kid. Like we've all had that happen. Your kid's uncomfortable,
Mhm.
they're teething. Who knows what the case may be? They want attention. Terrible twos,
Teething phase. That was terrible.
terrible twos, and the awful threes, and all that stuff. Like that's real. Like if you're a parent, but just with everything else going on too, like people just like rushing to get everything done. They're just constantly doing this, not paying attention to what's going on around them. It's annoying. I was just like, yeah, we're doing this from now on because I don't think I cussed anybody out in my head except for like once. And I didn't imagine myself Judy chopping anybody in the neck but twice. And those numbers are in the single digits, so it's like,
Did you at least imagine a karate chop?
I don't think I've seen the karate chop. So
You thought about the Judy chop.
I've seen the Judy chop. Skull can, nose his eye, ninja star.
Ninja star.
Yeah. And there's a moth flying around my computer now. That's great.
If you guys get that reference, say yes in
we
the
can
comments.
we can be friends. We can be friends. Totally get that. So another layer on top of this emotional onion is you kind of have to factor in like stuff that's going on in the world right now. So like ever since we had some combat operations going on in the country of Iran, there were some other kind of, I don't want to say follow on, but like there's some retaliatory things that happened over here. We had some incidences of terrorism here in the U.S.
Yep.
Small things here and there. So you kind of, that can easily start to wreak havoc thinking about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And then oftentimes what will happen is veterans will retreat within themselves, becoming quiet and distant from friends and family, and they isolate. Now, the reason that isolation is bad is that you don't want to be around other people. So if you're isolating means like you want to be around nobody all the time. Okay. Like I like to go for a walk by myself just to hear myself think, take in some smell of flowers, so to speak, just kind of let my mind wander. I'm not, around anybody. I'm not, I'm just having some me time. Yeah. A lot different than isolating. Isolating is where it's like, I don't want to talk to anybody ever. Okay. Yeah. And the reason that can be bad for obvious reasons. Okay. Mm-hmm. When you isolate, you start to have discussions with yourself because you don't want anybody around. So you start having discussions with yourself. Okay. That can lead to some very unhealthy, bad thoughts. And that could eventually and potentially lead to wanting to unalive yourself. Okay. So you have to be very, very, very careful. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but getting to what you're talking about, though, about just having some time to yourself in a healthy fashion. I've been mainly for my physical health, but it also to help with my mental health. I've been trying to get out there and get some steps in.
You talking about doing on the hiking trails and stuff?
Yeah, I even got myself a new little smartwatch to kind of track everything, and
Which one'd you get?
I don't know, some random one on Amazon. Again, it's a lot of stuff I get is Amazon special, but this one was a more expensive one because I got tired of breaking the ones I did get.
I'll tell you, dude, like just side comment, like I understand why. Like I was the guy who didn't have a smartphone for a long time. I still had a flip phone, and then I got one. And at first I only used it to answer questions of who was in that movie? I'm like, oh, that was that guy. Okay. And then I finally got to the point where I feel like I deserve to own a smartphone because I've got my calendar and everything else on here. But having a smartwatch is kind of clutch because of the fact that it's not just a toy, but there's a lot of times, especially being a therapist, I can't stop and just pull out my phone.
Monitoring and
yes, that is
all
I
that
have
shit.
an Android phone. This is this is an older Samsung S3 Frontier watch, and I got it refurbished off of Amazon. It's been great. Love it. But it's convenient because, like, especially like driving and stuff, if somebody sends a text message, I can at least see who contacted me,
Yeah,
or like I can leave my phone stashed
which
in
is
my
awesome because mine
yeah,
does the same thing, and like it'll
yep,
pop up with a text. I'm like, oh, so Fernando text me. Okay, okay, I'll check it
get
in a
back
little
to you
bit.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah, same thing. And it's like, I can see who called or whatnot, or and I can't always have my phone out because I'm working with the client. So like that is secondary. So like I can't. But this thing, I mean, I don't remember what I paid. I think I paid maybe $100 for it, but it's been fantastic. The fact that you can change the watch band out and all this other stuff for it, it's freaking
yeah,
great. We're having a lot of side discussions tonight. A lot of
yeah.
side
I mean,
table.
part of it's related. Part of it just kind of goes into the parts that are related to being related to something else. Like
Yeah, it's
I've
related
done,
to being.
I've noticed it goes. I noticed it's kind of how it's been going.
What the hell? Get out of here, bug.
But yeah, getting back to the walks though, man. Like, there's nothing like getting out there and just listening to nature around you and
Yeah,
hearing your footsteps in the grass, gravel, sand, whatever the hell, and just being chill.
yeah.
Just
I
you know what I mean?
I kind of do. Mine's a little bit more like urban based. I would love to be able to get out. I just don't have anything like close by because I either go out like sometimes late at night or like maybe early in the morning. So like by
You don't got
definition,
no hiking trails near? I thought there were a couple in Brandon somewhere.
there might be, but all the county parks are closed until like sunrise, and they close at
Uh,
sunset. So,
okay.
but like that time that you were staying in town when we went to that thing out in Clearwater, like out there on Taylor Road, that's what I'll do. I go down
Yeah.
and back and down and back to the side is 3 miles. Piece of cake. Nothing.
Yeah.
But a
Nice.
lot of times I like to go over to a river walk in Tampa because it's about 2.5 miles long. It's nice and paved. It's nice and flat. And you got plenty of room to navigate around and stuff. And plus, you get to be right here in the city. And Tampa's a great city to live near because
Yeah.
it's a small city with it's a small town with a big city feel. We got tall buildings, we got some parts outside of downtown, all that kind of stuff, residual areas. But
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you had done any hiking with those new barefoot shoes that you were telling me about.
I just got them, so no, not just yet, but I plan on it.
Okay, I want you to tell me about that because I'm seriously thinking about pulling the trigger on that. So, but anyway, so yeah, so something else to keep in mind when we talk about this again. So that's kind of like we talk about when you're situationally aware. Like we mentioned that a little while ago. You're not going to have any emotional reaction. When you're hyper vigilant, you're very much going to be an emotional reaction. You're going to show aggression. Like if somebody's up in your face or they bump in, you're going to like freaking jump up and just show and front that aggression just as a deterrent. Trying to get them away from you and all that kind of junk. You're not going to be thinking about the what ifs. You're going to feel relatively safe. You're not going to be constantly like looking over your shoulder, looking around, left, right, rear, front. We used to call that LRF, left, right, rear, front. You're not going to be constantly doing that back and forth. You're not going to look like a basket case. And I don't mean to make fun of this. I'm just saying you're not going to be sitting there filling that role of what that could potentially mean. Okay. Now, something else to keep in mind when people do not receive treatment for unresolved trauma or PTSD, hypervigilance has the potential to transform into agoraphobia. Now, what agoraphobia is, and we talked about how you can isolate. Well, the isolation can turn into that as well. It's a marked fear or anxiety about at least 2 of the 5 following specific situations. So we're talking public transport, open spaces, enclosed spaces, lines or crowds, and then being outside the home alone. And that is the definition from the DSM volume 5. Okay. Agoraphobia is no joke. Like I've seen some stuff on that before, and it's like it's legit as hell. Like people don't want to leave their house. They get nervous. They can urinate or defecate on themselves. Like it's pretty damning.
I almost wonder if there's been just for shits and giggles, I feel like we should research this at some point. I wonder if there's a correlation between agoraphobia and people that are still like showing signs of fear of COVID. Like, like remember how everybody like was scared to go outside, or at least a lot of people were.
Hmm,
Um,
that's a good point.
and there are still people like, not to make fun of them, but still people going around with wearing masks in their cars by themselves,
They develop those like
and
social anxiety, and they're just like isolated away from everybody. And even
yeah,
though that the pandemic has since been declared over and stuff, are they still you know you know are they still afflicted with that type of
type of fear
isolation? Yeah,
and isolation. Yeah, I
I'm
almost
gonna.
wonder if that's still a thing, because because the fear and the panic that a lot of people like, there seems to be a lot of correlation between, and this is just from my observance from the way the media depicts things, and the way they talk about how people are, oh, people are scared of this, and oh, people are scared of that, and like, you know, I know people were getting crazy before 2020, right? But during and after 2020, holy mother of God, did people get nuts, you know? And I feel like now it's like 10 times worse. And the only reason I can say that I feel like that might actually be the case is because, you know, number one, my ADHD, and number two, just my military training coupled with that has trained me to be very, very, very damn observant.
Yeah,
And um, I catch details about a lot of different things.
sure.
And it's almost something like, I mean, when you go through what is said, right? It said that, if people have an intense fear of situations where escape might be difficult or unavailable, often leading to avoidance of public spaces, crowds, or leaving home, right? So, you know, I don't know. I feel like you and I should do more research into it, and
So
like
it's
kind of go over it, because it's fascinating to start thinking
oh, it
about it.
is.
Like, because when we were talking about it just now, my brain, that's right where my brain was going.
This
I'm like thinking
is
to myself like, shit.
this is basically the context and like the play by play of how any type of you know thought and conversation on human behavior with between myself and Brian goes, because he's got his degree in psychology. I've been in RBT for 10 years. Like, we do a lot of comparing and contrasting, but like we were talking about this subject the other day where we're going for a ride in his Jeep. He's just talking and I'm just furiously typing away notes and stuff as best I can, because he's throwing like so much freaking knowledge
So
out
much
there.
shit at you, right?
I'm just like just grasping at ideas, like putting them in my basket for to check out at the store. But like and he was telling me, and I was like, Jesus. So like he was talking about the agoraphobia, and then kind of we looped it back around into the isolation, as a result of that, and then also we talked about having the people interactions with people from diverse backgrounds of ethnicity and whatnot that might not exactly play too well with that whole thing. And then it goes into, all these other things we've talked about. And I'm just like, geez, like this is like the never ending onion, dude. There's just layer after layer after layer. He goes, why do you think we go to school for so long? I went to school for 4 years. I had an extra 2 years for my master's. And then on top of that, in order to get licensed, I had to have like so many, it's like 500 or 1,000 hours, I think, is on the low end, if it's not whatever. But he
Yeah.
had to have so many hours signed off on by a clinical supervisor before he can be eligible to sit for the licensing test. I'm just like, Jesus. He goes, yeah, this shit gets so complex. Like, you see why, like, I have to do stuff when I come home just to, like, it's like, he's like, I come home, he's like, my brain hurts like a sponge that's just been wrung out and, like, it's all deformed and, dude, my it's like it's crazy. and it just you see so many clients, and then it's just like boom, 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 just day in day out. It's like on the weekends, he's like, yeah, dude, I'm wrenching on the Jeep. I'm doing other things just to kind of like, whoa, just kind of relax my mind and
Mhm.
stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But also to go along with what you were saying, about the whole like, people that are still have like the anxiety or the agoraphobia because of COVID and stuff. I think there's several other gleaming factors as a result of that. Um, One, it's all of the information and more importantly, the misinformation that's available out there on social media and other places.
Mhm.
And I think that everybody's like, there. How damn divided did we get when it's like, oh, did you get vaxxed? Yeah. Ugh. You didn't get vaxxed? Ugh. Like, it's either like it was like you're either on, are you Arsenal or are you Manchester? It's like, are you a Giants fan or are you rooting for the freaking, for the Jets? It's like, it's one or the other, bro. Pick kind of shit. Like it was just, it's insane. It's like we got so divided, and I think
Mhm.
that's another conversation for the time. But I think that
Mhm.
whatever. But
Mhm.
the hypervigilance, it's pretty damning. And it's like I get it. I don't say that I don't say that I was ever to that point of it being that extreme. I liked the term you used earlier about hyper aware, where it's not situationally aware, but it's a heightened sense above that.
Yeah.
Hyper aware, where it just everything is like, and it got to the point where that's probably one of the first times I felt myself close to having an anxiety attack. I'm just like, I mean, I had her hand and I was just crushing the shit out of it. I was just like, I felt so bad, but she
Yeah.
was a trooper. She got me through that situation. I was just like, whew. High school football games are not anywhere for a freaking returning home war vet to be. I will tell you
And
that.
it's funny too, because you mentioned earlier too about how, people can get that way off of past traumas as well. And
Oh yeah.
I don't
Oh,
think, and at that point in time, I hadn't I hadn't dealt with a lot of the traumas that I dealt with from when I was a kid, which, we've all discussed at the time where, I was, I was physically abused for a long time as a kid, from I'm pretty sure it was like ages 4 to like freaking I think almost 8 years old. So it was like 4 years of my life I was physically abused for a long time by a family member, not my mom, by the way. Um, which I'm pretty sure we've discussed that before on the
I'm pretty
show.
sure. I think we have, but
I
we
think.
don't need to rehash it too much because we don't get too
Yeah.
far into it. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I hear you.
But, you know, and I think a big part of that trauma coupled with when I went to war and came back, I think contributed to where I was when I first came home.
Yeah.
Um, because back then, I will admit it was far, far worse. Did I admit it to anybody? No, no, I didn't. I didn't admit it to nobody. I didn't even admit it to any therapists or any any counselors
Yeah.
or anything like that I talked to because I was just like, that's not happening to me. Fuck out of here. That's not
So
happening to
I'm
me.
I'm I'm curious. So ever since I knew you in high school, you were always like just buff as shit, right? You were just always in great physical form. Was it so? I know you said that you that was like you wanting to take care of yourself and just be in good shape because you were eventually going to join the military. But do you think maybe part of that was a response to the abuse that you might have gone through, or like I'm not letting anybody do that again, so I'm gonna toughen up and just be like,
I think I'm old enough now and wise enough now to say that yeah, part of it was
okay,
for sure. Um,
just curious. It just
I
that's
didn't.
the thought that popped into my head just now.
I think a part of me did not want to be hurt again,
Sure.
and because I didn't want to be hurt again, I did what I could to become physically strong. I joined the military so I could learn how to defend others and defend myself. Um, and I took some self defense and applied what I learned from the self defense that I did learn to, you know, ways that I could, work those moves myself
Yeah.
in a fashion where I could, because the my point is not to hurt anyone, but to definitely get them off of me and neutralize the threat if need be. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So you were talking, a minute ago about hypervigilance. So the experience that I had with it wasn't even really from the military. It was actually something a lot less routine, I will say. I had just got done paying off my car at the end of 2024. End of January 2025, I was driving to my brother's place out in Zephyr Hills. I was on 301 going north to Pasco County. Full moon that night, and out of nowhere, a deer ran across the road and broadsided my car. And I was just like, oh, are you shitting me? I just paid this thing off. Are you kidding me? Go figure. That's the way it works, right?
mm-hmm. But the moment you pay it off is the moment some shit goes wrong.
Dumb shit happens. But anyway, so like, and it was at night, and like, I'm so thankful that my daughter wasn't in the car, because she would have freaked out. She loves animals, all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, I didn't want to be on that road past sundown for a good while, because I found myself like, I'm gripping the steering wheel pretty hard. My eyes are just constantly scanning blind spots. Oh man, so bad, dude. But
it's like it's like every part of your hand and your fingers is red except for the knuckles, just like.
And it was crazy, and it was probably like a good 6 months to a year after the fact. Like, I told, like, when I would go visit my aunt lives in Zephyr Hills. I told my mom, I was like, we need to be on the road by this time, because I don't want to be on the road after dark. I don't have any fog lights. I don't have enough lights. I don't want to kill Thumper or Bambi. Like, fuck. Let's not. I don't want to do this again. It's not so bad. And that was part of the conversation Brian and I had. I was like, I just got really hypervigilant. And it was just that stretch of road. It wasn't even the whole road stretch from where I get on to where it clears out and goes into the downtown Z Hills and stuff. It's like the one stretch of road where I know this stuff happened. I'm saying, like one of those cat clocks just back and forth. It was crazy. But again, as it says, it can also be.
That was Felix the cat, wasn't it? Those cat clocks?
Whatever.
I'm pretty sure it was Felix
whoever it is. But at the same time, like I said, it's not just from, war stuff. It's, it was a little bit traumatic, because, it was just something that happened out of the blue, and I wasn't prepared for it and all that stuff. It was a pain in the ass too. Like, they almost weren't going to fix my car. I was like, no, I have insurance. Like, you're going to fix it. It's, I pay money. It should be called in case shit. I pay money in case shit happens. Shit happened. Fix the car.
Just so you know, it was Felix the cat.
Whatever. Okay. Is that from Disney?
Nah, I don't remember.
I don't.
Old 1930s, 40s, 50s cartoons though.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, where was? Let me pull up that other article. I'm just gonna read off some stuff off of that too.
Right.
So, Almo's not going to pull it up, but we're just going to talk about an article that we found. I'm just going to read them off real quick. It's funny enough. It's from it's a website for a law firm out in the Midwest somewhere, and they kind of work with Social Security law and also VA, like getting your disability rating, all that kind of stuff. But they had some stuff on here talking about hypervigilance. So understanding hypervigilance. When a veteran is hypervigilant, they're on alert for hidden dangers they believe are real, but are often exaggerated or improbable. In this heightened state of arousal, they can experience extreme emotional reactions, anxiety, impulsive behavior patterns, deep, intense feelings of being threatened, a need to remain on guard for impending disaster, a fight or flight response that may cause aggressive and or inappropriate responses to normal, common situations. Okay. For many veterans, hypervigilance can feel as if there's a constant state of tension and uneasiness boiling below the surface. Certain stimuli trigger the PTSD symptom, including feeling emotional and or physical distress, experiencing loud or sudden noises, listening to arguments or people shouting, feeling abandoned, having a deep sense of uncertainty, experiencing flashbacks, nightmares, or reminders of the traumatic event, feeling trapped or coerced, being overstimulated or understimulated emotionally, experiencing the abrupt, confusing, or random behavior of other people, feeling overwhelmed by the demands and expectations of friends and family.
I'm gonna say the listening to other people's arguments. I've done that before. Um, and I think it stems from like you're trying to I at least from my perspective, you're trying to listen to make sure that whatever these people are getting into is something that you can avoid and
Yeah.
get yourself out of that situation because you don't know how crazy they're going to get. And it's because it's not like a, oh, let me listen to what's going on. No, it's you're listening because it's like, okay, what the freaking hell is going on here?
I know exactly what that's like. It wasn't anything bad in my respect. You said that, and I immediately thought of this. This happened. So, I used to hang out with this former acquaintance of mine, and they wanted to go to the casino for their birthday. They turned 21, so they wanted to go to the casino. So we're sitting in the food court, and like a table or two behind me. It's not that many people in the food court area. We're just getting like some snacks or something, like something light to eat. And behind me, I hear a guy and a lady. They're getting into a very intense argument. Okay,
Mm.
and it started off with her. Like I heard her first. She's like, What are we gonna do, Carl?" He's like, "I don't know. I'll figure something out." She goes, "How are we going to get home? You gambled away all of our money, all of our savings." He's like, "Wait, it's all gone?" She goes, "Carl, you just blew $30,000." And I was like, "Okay, we need to go." And they were like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "We're just gonna go sit over here in case the cops get called." Holy crap. And I was just like, damn. I don't know what happened. I don't care. But I'm just like, 30,000.
30,000
And I'm sitting there going, got a problem?
dollars.
1-888 admitted, or whatever the phone number is now. But it's just like,
Oh
yeah, dude, that's a car. That is
God.
a car.
Yes, you are correct.
That's like a lot of high end ARs. Like, damn.
Like, dude, if you're gambling away your life savings, you have a problem. You gotta get yourself to a counselor.
Yep. So going back to the article, once hypervigilance is triggered, it could cause fierce and extreme emotional reactions, some that are elevated to the threshold of panic or alarm. Some of these reactions include violence and or anger, constant worry, intense feelings of unfair treatment, emotional disengagement and or shutdown, fear that others are judging, negative thinking, judging of others, feelings of self-loathing, and uncompromising thinking.
I've felt literally half of those before.
Yep. And then the other thing to say, if they remain in a state of heightened alert for a long time, then they may learn to cope by using various strategies called avoidance behaviors. These can take the form of avoiding social situations, daydreaming, refusing to participate in conversations, refusing to deal with challenging and difficult issues, procrastinating to avoid meeting deadlines, avoiding emotional intimacy, avoiding contact with friends and family, avoiding new situations due to fear and a desire to avoid risk, behaving in a controlling manner that doesn't allow others to express themselves. So, not all of those are good. Okay. And then aggressive
Mhm.
confronting behavior is acting defensively, acting with violence or aggression, reacting with irregular and unstable mood swings, feeling vengeful, demonstrating an extreme need for order or a need to make things right, acting out with intense emotional responses, fearing blame or being shamed, demonstrating a need to search for the truth and or evidence, and demonstrating behavior that corrects others and or demands them to accept your views. So a lot of red flags and stuff that you can look for and things you can do to kind of be on the lookout for if that's going on.
Yep.
It's one of those things, folks. It's like a lot of times it may take a while to manifest itself. If you know somebody going through this, I mean, try to help them as best you can. It may be hard. They may not want help. They may not think they need help because
Yeah.
veterans can be a stubborn tribe of people, and that's
Absolutely
100% fair. So,
can.
but again, this is a conversation where it's like we're just trying to talk about this and understand it. That's why it was titled "When War Comes Home: Understanding Hypervigilance." Because again, this is probably not something a lot of people have experienced if you haven't gone through something traumatic, or been deployed overseas to a war zone and had something traumatic happen that way. It can happen in other forms, here domestically, where you're in some type of car accident or have something life-changing happen, so on.
Law
So
enforcement officer going through their first
law enforcement, firefighter, hell yeah.
recovering from their first engagement.
One of the stories, I used to go to this support group that a friend of mine started for a while, and one of the stories I heard was from a guy who was a cop. I think he was a Pasco County sheriff, I believe. And he was all the way in like Hudson in the western part of the county. And there was a call that came across, and it was in the eastern part of the county. So he's screaming down back roads. And it was like a barricaded person that were trying to, commit suicide and stuff. So this guy's like screaming down these back roads, doing like 100+ miles an hour. And he said the hardest part was the fact that he didn't get there in time. The situation resolved, and they say, all right, everybody slow it down. The respondent is now deceased because he took his own life. And he always felt like that was such a problem because he never got there to the scene on time, and that just stayed with him all the way through his career, even after he retired and stuff. And I was like, wow, I said, that's crazy. It's got to be so intense to have those feelings like that, but it just gave me a newfound appreciation for the stuff that law enforcement goes for. It's like he didn't even respond to the call, and it fucked him up a little bit, to be fair. And I was just like, damn, it's harsh. So, well, my dude, I don't think I have anything else I want or need to add to this. Did you have any final thoughts before we start closing things out?
No, honestly, like if you guys recognize any of this in yourself, like I did, or if you recognize this in anybody that um, get help for them. Get help for yourself. Look, dude, we're all people. We're all human. Look, it's okay to admit you got a problem. It's not weakness. It's freaking, it's actually a sign of strength that you're admitting, okay, I got an issue. It's time to fix it. Don't shy away from don't shy away from doing what's right and you know trying to get a situation fixed. You're not trying to because you're not trying to fix. You're not trying to fix yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. You've had an issue. You've had a trauma, and your body's working through it. It's normal, man. So just get help. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. Well, folks, that has been our talk on hypervigilance. Hopefully you learned something. Might help you understand somebody that's going through this, might help you kind of understand what they're going through just a little bit better. And if that helps you understand a little bit better, hey, that's great. You can kind of put yourself in their shoes a little bit, help them get the help they need, so that they can, have a better quality of life, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, emotional health, whatever the case may be. Okay. That's kind of what this show is about. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But that has been our topic for tonight. So I'm going to start closing it out for the last time this season. And I'm going to hand it off to this guy over here, and we're going to wrap it up. So as we mentioned, if you're joining the show for the first time, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hopefully, you heard something that was at least interesting. It's not just two guys on here rambling about squirrel brain moments and having their brains grenaded and all this crazy stuff. I mean, when I say brain grenaded, I just mean like my brain has like it's like when you shut off Windows, like boop, like you hear that shut off noise, like it's gone. Yeah, okay, that's what I mean by that. But um, like I said, hopefully you might have heard something that you wouldn't have heard anywhere else.
Is that what you were
That
talking
that's it. Yeah.
about? Bum.
Um. So, don't. Yeah, exactly that noise. Yeah. So this kind of got started out of a little bit of tragedy. Alamo and I have known each other for 20 plus years. We went to high school together, stayed in touch throughout that time. Both ended up joining the military post 9/11. It's part of the GWAT generation. Again, Alamo was in active duty, went to Iraq. I was in the Florida Guard and did a tour over in Afghanistan. We both came home, ended up working together at a place in Tampa, a firearms retailer. We had the pleasure of working with this great dude named John, who was, he can't really be explained. He just had to have been experienced. And for those of you that know John, that makes perfect sense because there's just so many stories about John that it's just like, yeah, you never hear them all. Like they're just and it just so made work so much fun. I'm surprised we didn't get fired at least once. Just like I'm tired of looking to all you asses. Get out of here. Like just go. All the range guys, just bye. But they needed us, because we were the crazy guys running the range all the time. So we all kind of went our own way. Alamo and I, stayed in touch. John, we kind of lost touch with a little bit. And then down the road, Alamo reached out to me about his wife's organization called Flipside Mentorship. If you want to see great people doing amazing things, go check out flipsidementorship.com. They are changing tomorrow today. They are doing amazing work with young people. Just incredible events. They've got a great group behind them. A bunch of fantastic people, just absolutely amazing. I've been very, very fortunate to have partnered with them several times. This was actually the first time Tisha asked me to be a part of an event she was having. I was like, yeah, I get to hang out with my best friend here. Absolutely. So we just got to act like asshats all day. It was fantastic. It was fun. And then afterwards, Alamo was like, dude, we need to get the band back together. I'm like, I agree. Absolutely. So we started talking about what that would look like, and you brought up a podcast, and I was like, I don't know shit about a podcast. You're like, dude, they put a monkey in outer space. How hard can it be? I'm like, it's a valid point. It's a very valid point. So we kind of thought about it, and it got tabled. Well, it was after this time that we unfortunately found out that John had solved a temporary problem with a permanent solution, and John committed suicide. And I found out about it from a post from a friend of his on Facebook, and I was just like floored. I couldn't believe it. It was just shock. So I reached out to this guy. I was like, hey, dude, did you hear about John? And you were like, no, I got to call him for his birthday. I'm like, well, you can't because he's gone. And later on in that conversation, I was like, dude, the podcast thing, like, I'm in. That was my aha moment. I was like, let's do something about this. So we started conceptualizing what that would look like. And we came up with the name Battle Bros, and we came up with the Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is, it's kind of like thinking of like our message and our brand and who we were trying to reach with our content and stuff. So we came up with the Bros Code. And what the Bros Code is it's 4 easy things you can remember when things are a little bit rough, things are going hard, that kind of thing. So if you can remember the letters BROS, you're in good shape, okay? Because it's all about acronyms and all the crap that we learned in the military that we'll never forget because it was packaged in a certain way. It's like, oh, it's catchy and you remember the shit. Okay, cool. So, but if you can remember BROS, you're good, okay? And we're gonna take you through those. So be tenacious. No matter what happens in life, do it with tenacity, fervor, do it with a fire in the belly, do it with, piss and vinegar running through your legs, through your veins. I don't say legs.
I was just about to say, I don't know if you meant to say that.
I don't think I was understanding of what I was saying. My bad. Piss and vinegar running through your veins. Okay, do it with gusto. All right. No matter what you choose to do in life, go out and give it 100% of your efforts. Okay, whether it's being a parent, a mentor, a teacher, a therapist, a trades worker, whatever. Go out there and just do it, and do it to the utmost of your skill and attention and your abilities. Okay, to put it quite mildly and succinctly, in the words of the great Ron Swanson. Jesus, I almost said Ron Jeremy. I know that's not right. Good God.
The guy that's in jail.
The guy that's in jail. In the words of the great Ron Swanson, don't half-ass two things. Whole ass one thing. Be tenacious. R, refuse to surrender. Many times in life, things happen that we don't expect. We get kind of turned around, off course, discombobulated. We get knocked down in the dirt. Okay. We get stopped in our tracks, discouraged. That happens. But it's all about showing your will, your fervor to continue on. Okay. Sometimes you got to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, take a knee, admin halt, bust out your map and compass, shoot your azimuth, get a good read where you're at, reorient to your map, and then freaking distance direction and move out. Keep going. Okay. Refuse to surrender. Going along with that, obliterate your obstacles. When those obstacles happen, don't let them beat you. Beat them. Okay. Whether it's going down, crossing a river, when it's going across a linear danger area, whether it's having to breach a high fence or a wall or something, you have to climb over something, you have to dig a hole under something. You've got to, breach a wall with some C4 Bangalores or maybe even an armored vehicle. Okay, do what you got to do, man. It's all good. Obliterate your obstacles. Keep moving. Keep trekking and trying to hit the OBJ, hit the X. Okay. Last but not least, S. Seek out help in a time of need. As we mentioned with our good friend John, the fact that he is not here is a terrible tragedy because he was a guy worth knowing. His stories were just, God damn, his stories were funny. He's just one of those guys. He always had something funny to say. Just funny ass fucking person. Just made everything fun. Just always had a wisecrack. We're always up to shenanigans. To the point where we almost got in trouble a bunch of times. He took a picture of that in a copy machine and stuck it across the cash drawer. And the boss lady came over and opened up the cash drawer to check on the change and the coins and all that stuff. She's like, "What is this?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what do that for. I think maybe somebody's trying to play a prank on somebody. So she took it, crumbled up to the trash. So I'm just there going. And I told John about it. He was just like, how he had that little, that wry laugh of his. Oh, Jesus. I about died, dude. I was like, oh, we're so in trouble. Fuck. But, the fact that he's not here, like if he was still here and it meant that we weren't doing this show, I would happily trade that any day of the week, twice on Sunday, but that can't happen. John is gone. He's no longer with us. And the only thing we can do is just keep his memory alive with this show, telling his story, and by honoring his memory with what we're trying to do. If you feel like you are in a place that you don't want to be in, or you feel like you're in a road that you can't get off of, or you're going down a path that has no return, try to get help from somebody. Okay. Whether it's a friend, family member, a coworker, a fellow service member, a fellow coworker, if you're in law enforcement or firefighter, EMS type stuff, and there's guys that you work with that are knowing of what you're going through or can at least relate to it. That's super, super important. It's hard for me to talk to somebody about the military when they weren't in the military. I mean, they might understand, they might get an idea, but they don't get the full context of all that. And it's hard for us to communicate that sometimes. And we feel like, oh, they don't understand. I get that. Okay. But there's people out there, I know if I need to call somebody to talk to somebody, top three right here. One, this guy, I can call Brian. I can call, some of my other friends that served as well, because they're going to know what I'm going through. They can at least, understand. if you don't have anybody like that, there's options out there for you. If you feel like you're going to do some harm to yourself, please, please, please stop and pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. Okay, there are options out there for you. If you don't have anybody you can reach out to and you're going to harm yourself, reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. You can get a hold of them several different ways. Hold on just a second.
Quit that whistle.
I got like a lump in my throat, dude. It's terrible. You can contact them a bunch of different ways. There's the 800 number at 1-800-273-8255. Again, 800-273-8255. The last four numbers spell the word talk. Tango, Alpha, Lima, Kilo. 800-273-TALK. You also have the 3-digit number 988. Again, that's 988. And you can also text at 838255. Again, that's 838255. Once you get on the line with them, you can hit option 1 to talk to a live operator. They are there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help you in your time of crisis and help you work through it, get you some help. Okay. But this is a tool, this is a resource that you can use to help get yourself out of a bad spot. Okay. So please, 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 please utilize it. If it's not them, if it's a coworker or something, if it's a friend, like, you know, I've had that happen with me. I've had somebody call me in the middle of the night and say they weren't in a good place, and I was driving like a banshee up the interstate to get to them and, you know, sit with them and stuff. And, you know, it's an amazing feeling. It's like, you know, it's something you do for your friends, it's something you do for loved ones and stuff. But it's like when you can stop somebody from doing that, it's like, and I'm not trying to say this to humble brag at all, but it's just like, it's an empowering feeling. It really is. Okay. And I would do the exact same thing if I had to relive that again. Only thing I would do is drive faster. That's it. So, but again, if you don't have anybody that falls into that category of, you know, people you can talk to about this, reach out to somebody. Okay. It's important that we don't diminish our numbers anymore. Okay. It is very important that we help to stop this right here. So this is a bracelet from a company called Till Valhalla Project. They do memorial plaques and stuff. They sell a bunch of T-shirts, and what all the products that they sell go to these memorial plaques for like fallen warriors, service members, law enforcement, that kind of stuff. The only bad thing is that this number is not really accurate anymore. From what we're seeing, it's probably a lot higher, maybe even closer to 30, which is unfortunate. But the idea is still the same. We're trying to stop people from, you know, quitting on themselves. Okay. That's a harsh number to hear. 22 to 30 veterans a day, people you don't even know are offing themselves. But when you know when it's somebody you know and can put a name and a face, a name to the face and a face to the name, it's just like, it's harsh. I mean, Alma, you said you've lost like what, 5 or 6 friends of yours since we started doing this?
It's probably sitting around 5.
Yeah. And it's hard to tell to rationalize that, I'm sure, but you know, that's what we're trying to do with all of this. So,
yep.
If you find yourself in a tough spot, folks, please remember the Bros Code. Okay, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. Okay, that's the reason why we kind of came up with this, is to help you. All right, so I'm going to now pass it off to Alamo. He's going to close us out, and then we're going to wrap it up for our 6th season, and then we're going to call it a night, and we'll go from there.
Yes, sure. So, social medias, you know, we got them. Everybody does. And we want to see you on them. We want to see you guys talking to us on the instant messengers. We want to see you guys messaging us there and letting us know how we did on our episodes. If you liked our most recent episodes, and you know, hell, even if you guys got show ideas for us, go ahead and do that. One of those places you could do that is Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/battlebros.podcast, or if you go just into your Facebook app and look battlebros.podcast, you'll find us there. Same with Instagram. All you got to do is search in there at battlebros_podcast. And then also on the Twitter, all you got to do is go at battlebrospc. and you'll find us on either one of those platforms. Like I said, um, interaction, man. We want interaction. We want feedback. We want to hear you guys, and know what you guys liked about it and what you guys want to hear. Um, you know, it's kind of funny to say, we don't continue unless you know you guys are listening to us. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys are not listening to us, then we may or may not continue. I don't know. Just for us, the whole thing is as long as we get that one. If we get that one that says, "Hey guys," I mean, a lot of the times you guys talk a lot of nonsense, but I kept listening and just this one episode hit and it stopped me from doing something stupid. Hey, that's what we're in this for. We're not a big podcast, obviously. We're relatively small. We're a very uh, modest operation.
Yeah, that's a nice way of saying it. Yeah.
We're a very modest operation, but as long, like I said, as long as what we're doing here stops that one, that's what matters to us. Um, if you guys don't like the idea of contacting us on the social medias via the instant messengers or whatever, or just messaging our little group directly there, we have Gmail. All you have to do is go battlebrospc@gmail.com. Um, Once again, battlebrospc@gmail.com. Um, Message us there. Let us know, hey guys, I liked your subject last week, but I really want to hear you guys talk about this. Fantastic. We would love to hear that. Or even if it was, hey guys, you inadvertently saved my son's life, my wife's life, my, husband, daughter, whatever, whatever it is, you know, that's something we want to hear. Um, as you guys know, we're here live on YouTube every Friday at 9. As long, without restrictions, typically, unless there's other planned events that we have. But if you don't like catching us on YouTube, if you like catching us on a different platform, we do have Rumble and we do have Spotify. I've got to check and see if we're still on iHeart and all the other platforms. I can't remember if when Spotify went, or excuse me, when Anchor went strictly Spotify, if
it was cross pollinating all the other platforms.
Yeah, if it was still going to the other platforms. I don't know. I didn't check. But I do know for a fact we're on Spotify. So once I check where all of our stuff is going, I'll make sure and see and go from there. But for sure, you can catch us on Spotify. You can even watch us on Spotify if you have the app at home on your, Fire Stick or your PlayStation, Xbox, whatever. But also, again, rumble.com. If you go to rumble.com, Rumble and the Rumble app actually has a CarPlay mode where you can just listen to what you're playing in Rumble. So those are other platforms where you could catch us, man. Just
also YouTube.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're here live on YouTube every week, so I
meant like going back and watching our previous episodes and stuff.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, if you want to catch previous episodes, yeah, for sure. Even if you want to go back way far and like watch all of our cringe beginning episodes, we kind of started finding our stride. I would say probably around 8 or 10.
Yeah, the 9/11 episodes when we did those.
Yeah. When we did those episodes is when we actually kind of started finding our stride. But
all right, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, but before that, it was just like I go back and listen to some of those episodes, and I'm like, why
we're like awkward? We sound so stupid.
But
that wasn't funny. That wasn't funny.
No. And I went back and listened to one episode not too long ago, and I was just like, why did I see that? Yeah.
But there's been a bunch of other episodes where we said like that was awesome.
Yeah.
What
But
was it, the Christmas episode we talked about Wienergate? Yeah.
yes. That's a fantastic episode.
Fantastic.
But yeah, so definitely, so yeah, catch us on all the platforms. um if you don't like one, we're on a few different other platforms that you can actually listen to. um and we're always willing to hear feedback, and we're always willing to take feedback from whatever platform you listen to us on, and you can do that on pretty much every one of the platforms we're on: Rumble, Spotify, YouTube. You could do that on all of them, and I recommend doing that because like I said, we want to hear what you have to say. um it's been fun this season, and we hope to see you guys back
It seems
here.
like this season was longer than normal
It did seem like it was longer, didn't it?
because we had so many breaks. I think.
I think so. Blame me.
Especially
It was my
no,
new
no,
job.
no, no, no blame necessary, man. Not blaming at all. Just it just seemed like it was longer for some reason. Like get started, and once we got off the ground running for this season, it's like this week off, that week off, just for various things. Life happens, all kind of stuff. But hey, it's all
Yart.
good. So
Yart.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we love doing this, but we also complain because it takes up a lot of our time. Like it's 3 nights a week that we're doing this kind of stuff, which you want to put something good out there. You're not just trying to half-ass stuff. We're not. But at the same token, like it's so weird because it's the dichotomy there. We do it so much and then we complain about it, but then like when we're off and we're on a break between the season, we're just like, what are we gonna do on a Friday night? Like we don't know what to do. Like
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Yeah,
shit.
it gets kind of weird because then you're like,
All right,
oh.
we get up and running, and then we're getting up and running, like, oh, it's here again. We're in the throw of it, and it's like we're never satisfied. It's crazy. So
Hey, 'tis human.
exactly. You got anything else?
That's it, man. Freaking, we're looking forward to seeing you guys next season. We're gonna have a whole hell of a lot new show for you.
Yep. We are gonna spend some time kind of going to the drawing board, kind of talking and get some good ideas down early, kind of conceptualizing what we're going to talk about. Really want to try to get back into doing some VIP segments where we have people on interviewing them and whatnot. So a lot of time, having some good discussions about the future of the show and stuff. So we will look forward to hopefully seeing everybody back here when we get back up and running. We're going to try to put out some content also throughout the summer, little things here and there, just kind of say, hey, don't forget about us. So
yeah, I'll be putting out some YouTube shorts.
Yeah. So until that time, folks, again, we cannot say thank you enough. We cannot do this show without you. It is you that helps to make this thing go forward. You've been along with for the journey with us. We thank you for that. It's also kind of bittersweet that we end it like the season and stuff because we get the time off to spend with our families for the summer and stuff, but then also like it's kind of like a family member you don't see for a while. It's just like, what are they doing? I haven't heard from them. Like, what's going on? So, but again, thank you so much to everybody. We appreciate it. You can always feel free to go back and watch and listen to shows on any one of those platforms that we mentioned earlier. I am looking forward to the break that we're going to have. I know this guy is too, but doesn't mean we're going to stop doing the good work that we're doing. So until the next time, please remember, as always, be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need. Okay. Just remember, it's not always the message that's going to you. It could be going to somebody else, and you're just the conduit in which it travels. Okay. So pass it along, pay it forward, and just remember that to be kind to everyone out there. Okay. This is the Battle Bros podcast. We are signing off from episode 132, When the War Comes Home, Understanding Hypervigilance. Thank you so much for being with us this Friday night. We will see you next season when we get back up and running. So until that time, just have a good summer, have a good safe summer, and take care of everybody. Okay. We'll see you soon.
Until next season, Battle Bros out.